Have you ever been told to water your tomatoes with milk to fight blight? Or maybe boost your cucumbers with baker's yeast for explosive growth? I bet you have. These old wives' tales or grandma's methods have been passed down for generations, and we often treat them like timeless wisdom. But what if I told you that half of those tips aren't just useless, they're actually actively harming your harvest? Today, we're doing a complete overhaul of your garden strategies. We're going to break down 20 of the most popular folk remedies and separate the wheat from the chaff. You might be shocked to learn which common practices are actually destroying your plants, and conversely, which ones are genuine hidden gems that can replace expensive chemicals. Stay tuned until the end, and your garden will thank you. So, where exactly did all these folk remedies come from? The answer is simple. 100 years ago, our great-grandparents didn't have access to modern fungicides, insecticides, or complex fertilizers. They used what they had on hand: wood ash from the stove, herbs from the meadow, and kitchen scraps. Through trial and error, they found solutions that helped them combat pests and diseases, even if minimally. Some of these methods were based on genuine, correct observations. For example, the alkaline environment created by ash genuinely interferes with the development of certain fungi. But many other recipes were born from false ideas about plant biology. People relied on analogy. Yeast makes the dough rise, so it must make the plants shoot up too. Today, we have the benefit of science, which can accurately tell us what is happening in the soil and inside the plant itself. It is from this precise scientific perspective that we will evaluate the so-called wisdom of our ancestors. Get ready. Some of these debunking moments are going to be genuinely surprising. Let's tackle myth number 1, a real blockbuster on gardening forums: spraying plants with milk to combat late blight. It sounds wonderfully organic and safe. The logic behind this advice is that the lactic acid bacteria supposedly form a protective film on the leaves, thereby suppressing the fungus. You're currently seeing a typical tomato plant suffering from a severe late blight infection. Now picture us spraying this entire plant with a milk mixture. What actually happens? Milk is in fact a fantastic growth medium, but it feeds not just the beneficial bacteria, it feeds the harmful ones too, including common issues like sooty mold. Instead of protection, you'll end up with sticky leaves covered in a black sticky residue. This gunk significantly inhibits photosynthesis. Furthermore, there is zero credible scientific research to back the claim that milk is effective against late blight. This is purely anecdotal and wishful thinking. Any protein film that manages to form will be washed off completely by the very first rain shower or heavy watering. So, save the milk for your coffee. When dealing with late blight, stick to proven solutions, reliable biological fungicides or copper-based treatments. The milk remedy is simply a myth. Let's kick things off with our first proven method: wood ash. It's not just leftover soot, it's a genuine powerhouse of essential nutrients. And unlike many quick fixes, the benefits of wood ash are scientifically proven. Just look at its mineral composition. It's packed with potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, and roughly 30 other vital micronutrients. Crucially, all these elements are in a highly bioavailable form, meaning plants can easily absorb them. Wood ash serves as a fantastic potassium-phosphorus fertilizer, making it a favourite of key crops like tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, and cabbage. It improves fruit sweetness and significantly boosts storage life. Furthermore, wood ash is highly alkaline. This means it's excellent for neutralising or sweetening acidic soil. If you are dealing with an overly acidic plot, applying ash is one of the quickest and most effective ways to balance the pH and improve soil structure. And yes, it genuinely assists in fighting specific fungal diseases like cabbage clubroot, because the fungus thrives in acidic conditions but hates alkalinity. A crucial safety note: only use ash derived from clean, untreated wood. Never use ash from burning trash, painted lumber, or composite materials like particle board. Finally, don't overdo the application, as excessive amounts can make your soil overly alkaline. Now let's talk about our next popular garden visitor, baker's yeast. We often hear the phrase, "It makes your plants grow like crazy," and immediately grab a packet, dissolving it in warm sugar water. The common wisdom is that the yeast fungi stimulate root growth and enrich the soil. That sounds logical enough, but in reality, this is one of the most damaging gardening myths out there. Let's break down why. Yeast are living organisms, and to survive, they actively consume large amounts of potassium and calcium directly from the soil. This means that by adding the yeast solution, you aren't feeding your plants. You are actually creating a critical deficiency of essential nutrients. Essentially, you're starving your plants. Any short-term growth spurt that some gardeners observe is caused by the brief release of carbon dioxide, which stimulates the soil's microflora. But this effect is extremely short-lived, while the damage caused by leaching out potassium and calcium is long-term. Visualize it this way. You've invited a loud party into your house, and they ate every single bit of food in your fridge before leaving. Your plants are going to suffer significantly after that kind of help. So forget about using yeast as a fertilizer. It's a complete myth. Let's talk about our next garden hero, the one that truly delivers results. I'm referring to nettle infusion, also widely known as liquid green manure, or nettle slurry. If wood ash provides your potassium and phosphorus, nettles are the ultimate source of easily absorbed nitrogen, absolutely essential for vigorous vegetative growth during a plant's early stages. Picture this. Take a large barrel, fill it 2/3 full of fresh nettles, and top it off completely with water. After just 1 or 2 weeks of fermenting, you'll have a concentrated, potent liquid. Though be warned, it definitely has a pungent smell. This slurry isn't just packed with nitrogen, it's also rich in iron, potassium, and various vitamins. When diluted with water at a ratio of 1:10, this mix becomes an outstanding feed for young cucumbers, cabbage, and tomatoes. It is truly a powerful plant tonic. Crucially, the fermentation process enriches the infusion with beneficial microorganisms that actively work to improve your soil structure. One important warning: avoid using nettle feed on onions, garlic, and legumes such as beans or peas. These crops generally dislike an excess of nitrogen, but for everything else, this remains an absolutely reliable, free, and highly effective gardening method. Now let's turn our attention to the household medicine cabinet. We're talking about iodine and brilliant green. These items are often suggested for addition to irrigation water, supposedly to stimulate fruits set on tomatoes and cucumbers, and to act as a disinfectant. The promise is simple: just a drop of iodine per bucket of water, and a guaranteed harvest awaits. Sounds like a gardening miracle, doesn't it? Unfortunately, this is a dangerous misconception. Iodine, much like chlorine, is a halogen. In high concentrations, it is toxic to plants and actively suppresses the development of crucial soil microflora. The trace amounts that plants actually require are already readily available in the soil. By artificially adding iodine, you risk causing a chemical burn to the roots and wiping out beneficial bacteria. As for brilliant green, often referred to simply as Zelenka, it's an antiseptic aniline dye. However, its effectiveness against the fungi that plague garden plants is highly dubious at best. You are much more likely to harm both the plant and the soil structure. Imagine trying to cure a headache by pouring antiseptic dye over yourself. That is essentially what you are doing to your plants. Keep the first aid kit stocked for human use, and for your garden, stick to specialized, proven products. Let's talk about the methods that truly work, and that's the good old onion peel infusion. This is a remedy our grandmothers have relied on for centuries, and for good reason. Onion peels are a true powerhouse of beneficial compounds. They contain rutin. While we know this compound strengthens human blood vessels, in plants, it reinforces their cellular walls, significantly increasing their resistance to disease. But the most crucial compounds are the phytoncides, volatile substances that are lethal to many harmful microorganisms and effectively repel certain insects. The onion peel infusion is an excellent tool for preventing fungal diseases and an effective treatment for aphids and spider mites in their early stages. Picture a nasty spider mite infestation on a cucumber leaf. A simple spray of this infusion creates an unbearable, hostile environment for the pests. The preparation is incredibly simple. Take a 1 litre jar of peels, pour 2 litres of hot water over them, let it steep for 48 hours, 2 days, then strain the liquid and dilute it with water at a 1:2 ratio before use. This infusion acts as both a gentle foliar feed and powerful plant protection. It is a completely safe, proven, and highly effective method. Next up from the household medicine cabinet is potassium permanganate, better known simply as permanganate or manganovka. Gardeners often use it for everything: seed treating, soil sterilization, and disease control. But here's where things get complicated. Yes, permanganate is a powerful oxidizer and antiseptic. It absolutely kills pathogens. However, it also kills all the beneficial microflora. When you pour that bright pink solution onto your beds, you are essentially sterilizing the soil, turning it into a dead desert. On screen, you can see the vibrant life in a single drop of healthy soil viewed under a microscope. Now imagine all of that being wiped out. Restoring that essential soil microbiome takes a tremendous amount of time. Furthermore, in high concentrations, the resulting manganese is toxic to plants and significantly increases soil acidity. The use of potassium permanganate is justified in only one instance, for a quick, pre-sowing seed soak using a strong solution. But actually watering the ground with it? That is reckless, if not barbaric. There are far gentler and much more effective biological treatments available for disinfection. So we are officially moving this method into the category of technically works, but ultimately causes more harm than good. Now here is a method that definitely works and brings only benefits: planting marigolds or teigettes around the perimeter of your garden beds and in the rows themselves. These bright, low-maintenance flowers are far more than just a pretty addition to your vegetable patch. They are nature's true garden sanitizers. Their root systems release specific compounds called thiophenies into the soil. These substances are actually toxic to many soil-borne pests, most notably nematodes. Nematodes are microscopic parasitic worms that cause devastating damage to the roots of crucial crops like potatoes, tomatoes, and strawberries. Picture a plant's roots covered in unnatural knots, bumps, and swellings. That is the telltale sign of a nematode infestation. Marigolds efficiently cleanse the soil of this particular scourge. As an added bonus, their strong, distinctive scent repels many airborne insects, including common pests like the onion fly and the destructive cabbage white butterfly. When autumn arrives, don't throw the spent marigold plants onto the compost pile. Instead, chop them up finely and till them directly into the ground. This practice enriches the soil with organic matter and prolongs the beneficial, pest-suppressing effect well into the next season. It's simple, it's beautiful, and it is profoundly effective. This is one technique I strongly recommend trying. Salt is the white death. We've known this phrase forever, but somehow, when we step into the garden, we throw all caution to the wind. One of the most misguided old wives' tales is sprinkling salt directly onto weeds or pouring a salt solution onto your vegetable beds. Say, to make your beets sweeter. Yes, salt will indeed kill the weeds, but it will also kill absolutely everything else. Salt leads to a process called soil salinization. Sodium and chloride molecules actively displace essential beneficial elements like calcium and magnesium right out of the soil complex. The structure of the soil breaks down. It becomes dense, compacted, and unable to properly absorb air or water. As a result, plants growing in salty soil cannot properly absorb water and nutrients, even if those resources are abundant. This phenomenon is known as physiological drought. Picture someone dying of thirst in the desert, right next to a huge barrel of undrinkable, salty seawater. That is exactly what your plants are experiencing in salinized soil. Restoring this kind of damaged land afterwards is incredibly difficult and can take years, so please never, under any circumstances, use salt in your garden. It is a guaranteed recipe for total destruction. Let's move on to aphid control. Folk wisdom offers a tried and true solution here, a simple laundry soap solution. Why is this so effective? Unlike many gardening myths, this one has a clear physical explanation. Aphids, like many tiny insects, breathe through microscopic holes on their bodies called spiracles. The soap solution, when applied, forms a thin film that completely plugs these spiracles. The pest simply suffocates. Imagine a tiny aphid completely sealed off by a soapy film. It doesn't stand a chance. This method is completely safe for your plants and for people. It is crucial to use simple, unscented household soap, like basic laundry bar soap or Castile soap. Nothing with harsh fragrances or additives. Typically, you'll grate about 100 to 150 grams of soap and dissolve it in 10 litres of warm water. Spray thoroughly, ensuring you target the undersides of the leaves where aphid colonies tend to cluster. While this method might struggle against truly massive infestations, it is excellent for prevention and for controlling minor outbreaks in their early stages. The next common myth we need to debunk involves controlling slugs and snails. Many gardeners believe that crushed eggshells, sprinkled around plants, create an impenetrable barrier for these pests. The logic is that the sharp edges of the shells will supposedly cut the slug's delicate underbelly. Look at the screen now. You can see a slug crawling right over a knife blade. I promise you, this is not doctored footage. The slug's body is covered in a thick layer of protective slime that shields it perfectly from cuts. To a slug, your eggshells are just minor bumps in the road. They will easily glide right over that barrier and get straight to your prized cabbages or hostas. This has been confirmed by countless experiments conducted by enthusiastic gardeners who filmed the slug's nightly missions. Now, eggshells are an excellent source of calcium for your soil, but they should be applied as a fine powder or meal so they break down quicker. But as a slug repellent, this method is completely useless. Save your time and effort. So what actually works against slugs? Turns out traditional methods have a great solution: mustard powder. Slugs absolutely despise this stuff. Unlike eggshells, mustard works chemically. It irritates the mollusk's delicate skin, so they actively try to avoid any contact with it. If you sprinkle dry mustard powder in a ring around your plants, or dust it heavily between the rows, it creates a highly effective barrier. Of course, you'll need to refresh it after a heavy rain. Even more effective is spraying the plants with a mustard solution. To make this, mix about 100 grams of the powder into 10 litres of water. Let it steep for a couple of hours, and then spray the leaves, paying special attention to the underside. Slugs certainly won't want to snack on leaves coated in this spicy sauce. Beyond slugs, the strong scent of mustard also deters many other garden pests. It's a safe, affordable, and genuinely effective way to protect your harvest from these greedy mollusks. So next time, skip the eggshells and reach for the mustard. Let's look at another popular kitchen hack, using spent tea leaves as fertilizer. A lot of people dry out their used tea and sprinkle it around houseplants or seedlings, believing it's an excellent organic feed. In reality, the amount of remaining nutrients in used tea is negligible. It simply doesn't contribute anything substantial to the plant's diet. But that's only half the problem. The real damage lies elsewhere. Wet tea leaves sitting in a pot or seed tray create the perfect breeding ground for mold and fungi. And even worse, they are absolutely beloved by fungus gnats or cyarids, those tiny black flies that start swarming around your plants. Their larvae live in the soil and can seriously damage the delicate roots of your seedlings. Essentially, you are creating a perfect pest incubator right on your windowsill, so you get zero benefit, but a very real risk of harm. Used tea leaves are much better off heading straight for the compost bin, where they can actually be useful. But as a direct fertilizer, skip it. That's one garden myth you should definitely ignore. Let's talk about mulching now, focusing specifically on using sawdust. This technique is often debated, but if you approach it correctly, it's actually fantastic. Mulching simply means covering the soil surface to conserve moisture, suppress weeds, and improve overall soil health. Sawdust excels at all these jobs. A 5 to 7 centimetre layer of sawdust will prevent moisture from evaporating too quickly and shield plant roots from excessive heat. However, there is one crucial point to remember. When fresh sawdust breaks down, soil bacteria consume a large amount of nitrogen that they are essentially stealing from your plants. This results in what we call nitrogen deficiency. The plants turn yellow and their growth becomes severely stunted. To completely avoid this issue, you must prepare the sawdust beforehand. You can either compost it for about a year, or, before application, soak it thoroughly in a solution of high nitrogen fertilizer, such as urea. Alternatively, you can simply use old, aged and darkened sawdust that has already started the decomposition process. Provided you follow this essential rule, sawdust remains an excellent, cost-effective and highly functional material for mulching. Spraying aphids with Coca-Cola. It sounds like a gardening joke, but this particular piece of advice has been circulating online for years. The method's proponents claim that the phosphoric acid in the drink eats away at the insect's outer layers. But let's look at this from a common-sense perspective. Coca-Cola is, first and foremost, loaded with sugar. By dousing your plants with this thick, sticky syrup, you are creating the perfect breeding ground for sooty mold. Your leaves will quickly be covered in a black residue that blocks the stomata and completely disrupts photosynthesis. On top of that, the sweet smell will attract ants to your garden. And ants, as we know, are the dedicated shepherds of aphids. They actively protect them from predators and transport them to fresh, new plants. In other words, by trying to fight the aphids, you are actually creating a far more comfortable environment for them and attracting all their allies. As for the phosphoric acid, its concentration in the soda is far too low to actually harm the aphids, but it's just concentrated enough to damage tender, young leaves. This myth is completely nonsensical and genuinely harmful to your plants. But here is a method that forms the backbone of organic farming and works wonders. The use of green manures, often called cover crops. Green manures are plants grown not for harvest, but specifically to boost the soil's health and fertility. Common varieties include mustard, phacelia, rye, oats, and various legumes. How does this process work? Imagine bare earth left exposed after the main harvest. It's highly susceptible to erosion, and vital nutrients are easily washed away or leached out. By planting green manures, you cover that ground with a dense, protective green carpet. Their robust root systems break up and aerate the soil, drawing up minerals and nutrients from deeper layers, making the soil structure crumbly and porous. Once the crops reach maturity, they are mowed and incorporated into the topsoil. This green biomass then decomposes, enriching the ground with organic matter and nitrogen, essentially creating the highest quality natural fertilizer. Furthermore, certain green manures, such as mustard, release substances that actively suppress weed growth and help repel common pests like the wireworm. This is a powerful technique for healing and enriching the soil, a tool that has been known since ancient times and is continuously validated by modern agronomy. Here is another bizarre gardening tip: placing red bricks underneath your squash or pumpkin plants. The theory is that the brick heats up during the day, storing the sun's warmth, and then releases that heat at night to keep the plant cozy. That sounds logical enough on the surface, but let's take a closer look. The heat capacity of a single brick is simply negligible. It will cool down completely within half an hour after the sun sets. There is no way it can significantly influence the temperature of a large squash plant. That's like trying to heat an entire room with a single candle. Yes, you will get a small, localized heating effect right underneath the brick, but honestly, it's a drop in the ocean. For real heat retention, it's much more effective to use dark-coloured mulch or proper row covers. This myth likely originated from a simple, accurate observation. Squash and gourds thrive when planted in warm, well-heated soil. But in this scenario, the brick is purely decorative. It offers zero practical gardening benefit. It's a harmless, yet utterly useless piece of garden folklore. Now let's talk about soda. Both baking soda and washing soda can be genuinely useful in the garden. provided you use them strategically. This is a proven technique. Its primary purpose is tackling powdery mildew. This is a common fungal disease that appears as a fuzzy white residue on the leaves of plants like cucumbers, zucchini, and roses. The fungus responsible for powdery mildew thrives poorly in alkaline environments. A soda solution, using 1 tablespoon of washing soda and a dash of liquid soap per 10 litres of water, creates an alkaline barrier on the leaf surface. This layer effectively prevents the fungal spores from germinating. It serves as an excellent preventative treatment. It's crucial to understand that while soda won't cure severely infected plants, it is highly effective at preventing the disease from spreading further. You must begin spraying as soon as you notice the very first symptoms. Additionally, a weak soda solution can be used to raise the soil's pH, but this must be done with extreme caution to avoid over-alkalinizing the soil. Therefore, when used at the correct concentration and for a specific purpose, soda remains an effective, cheap and time-tested home remedy. When dealing with the devastating strawberry weevil, one of the oldest tricks in the book is using what gardeners call decoys. This tiny snout beetle lays its eggs inside the strawberry buds, causing them to dry up and drop off. The damage to your potential yield can be enormous. Our ancestors observed that in the early spring, while the ground is still cold, these beetles instinctively seek out light-coloured, warm objects for shelter. That observation is the key to this method. Early in the season, before the plants flower, you simply place white rags, small boards, or even pieces of cotton wool, perhaps soaked in something pungent, next to your strawberry plants. Picture this. The weevil wakes up, desperately needing a warm hiding spot, and finds your perfect trap. In the morning, all you have to do is collect these decoys, along with the pests hiding inside, and destroy them. While this won't eliminate the entire population, it significantly reduces their numbers in the most ecological way possible, without the need for any chemicals. The method does require patience and consistency, but it genuinely works, especially well for smaller garden plots. Let's wrap up our discussion by tackling one final, persistent and harmful myth. The idea that, if it's natural, it must be good for the garden. Too often, eager gardeners dump all sorts of kitchen scraps directly onto their garden beds. Things like meat drippings, fish broth, or even spoiled, acidic soups. Their reasoning is simple: it's organic matter. It will just break down and feed the plants. But this is a massive mistake. When this kind of material decomposes directly in the soil, it acts like a magnet for pests. The smell attracts flies, which immediately lay eggs, resulting in maggot infestations. That same odour will also draw in unwanted critters like rats and mice. Furthermore, the fats and oils present in those broths and drippings create a waterproof, anaerobic film right on the soil surface. This cuts off crucial gas exchange, leading to rot and putrefaction. These destructive processes suffocate the plant roots and kill off the beneficial soil microbes. Picture your garden bed turning into a stinking, toxic mess. Nothing healthy is going to grow there. All kitchen organic waste must only be directed into a properly built and managed compost pile, where it can undergo through the correct high-temperature decomposition process. Pouring raw kitchen scraps straight onto your beds is actively harming your garden. Remember this rule. Alright, that wraps up our look at 20 popular, tried and true gardening hacks, or what we often call Grandma's remedies. Clearly, the world of gardening advice is far from black and white. We discovered that seemingly harmless feeds like yeast or milk can actually cause serious damage, essentially poisoning the soil and starving your plants. We learned that salt is an absolute non-starter, a total taboo for any gardener. And frankly, antiseptics like Brilliant Green and iodine belong firmly in the medicine cabinet, not the watering can. On the flip side, we proved the incredible power of simple, accessible methods. Common nettles become a potent growth elixir. Wood ash transforms into a balanced multi-nutrient fertilizer. And things like onion skins and marigolds are reliable guardians of our harvest. The main takeaway here is this: don't blindly trust every piece of advice, even if it claims to be time-tested. It is crucial to understand the why, the underlying science behind the actions you take. Think critically, analyse, and always fact-check your information. That is how you ensure your garden is genuinely healthy and productive. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our upcoming debunking videos and proven working tips. Now for the question of the day. What grandma's remedies do you swear by? What worked wonders for you and what turned out to be a complete waste of time? Share your own experiences in the comments below. Let's build the ultimate community treasure trove of verified gardening wisdom.